All right, back on Morning Line. Our guest with us this morning is Thomas Schwartz. He's a professor at Vanderbilt. He's also an author. And Brian was very nice. He's heard you reference the fact that you've written several books. In fact, you have one in the pipeline right now, as he mentioned, on Henry Kissinger that I think sounds fascinating. But it's not on the bookshelves yet,
No, it's still in the editing phase, and hopefully will be out either late next year or early in 2020.
Okay, well, so, it sounds like an interesting read, and I appreciate Brian mentioning it. Listen, let's get back to the phone lines. As we're talking about local, national politics and folks that waited through the break. We've got Wayne and Sharon, Rachel next. Let's go to Wayne. Wayne, good morning. Hi, Wayne.
Yeah, good morning, Nick.
Good morning. What's on your mind?
Something I want to invite you to look at.
Okay.
It's actually history repeating itself in America. In the 1890s, it was called the Gilded Age. You had immigrants from Europe, from Ireland, from, coming to America. But the difference was we didn't have a treasury. We're on the gold standard. We didn't have any kind of welfare. We had no unemployment. When the people came here, they had to work, and they worked them. And they had to form labor unions, and then finally they decided, let's form our own political party called the Populist Party. It was so well accepted that the first year that they ran in the House of Representatives, they won 91 seats in the first election. So the secret is, it's history repeating itself. We need a third party. We need somebody to split the vote. It's that simple. And I got a little answer. The people that are coming up from south of the border, why don't we treat it like an emergency disaster relief program where you can meet them before they get to the border and say, okay, we know this is what you need and we know why you're fleeing, but we're going to establish a colony and basically work out a deal with Mexico where, okay, we're going to help you help these people, and let the people be the border. As the people come up from the south, they're actually saying, we're here to work.
Well, I don't know. Now, what do you think of that? That would be quite an undertaking. I like his thought about a third party.
Well, yeah, although, the populists were actually not the immigrants. The populists were particularly the distressed farmers of the 1890s in the Midwest who really found their situation really very hurt by the low prices of grain and were really in very difficult straits during that time. The immigrants contributed, I do think the idea of a third party is very interesting. We're way overdue. If you look at American history, we've almost always had a third party emerge every 20 to 30 years in our history.
Okay, so like what would it...
The last one being significant was Ross Perot and the Reform Party.
Reform?
Yeah.
So who would make up a third party in the scene that we have now?
It might be sort of the never Trump Republicans, those who really found Trump really distasteful on all sorts of grounds among the Republicans, the sort of people who were much more attached to George Bush or Mitt Romney, that group, along with some moderate Democrats who don't like the fact that their own party has become much more left-wing and much more oriented towards socialist solutions. So something in the middle like that. The only problem is it does not look like there is a significant enough group willing to organize and be that group.
It's interesting to me because I see that as the majority of Americans, what you just described. I mean, I would be a part of that party. I would be a part of that.
But it needs a leader.
And then so what you would have is that party in the middle that would have the majority of Americans, and then you'd have the extremes on both ends of the both parts, Republican, Democrat, and you'd have this mainstream middle party, which is what I would be a part of. I would gladly abandon either of those sides to go to that middle. All right, let's go next to Sharon. Hello, Sharon. Hi, Sharon.
Hey, how are y'all this morning?
Good. What's on your mind?
I'm sitting here listening to all this morning and listening to the ones that had to get up in the air and talk and stuff, and some have been very calm. I was sitting going back generations of my family. My great-great-grandfather came over from Ireland, and he had daughters, and one of his daughters married my great-grandfather, which came over from Ireland. And the Irish were hated, just like these people are hated, and it's very sad They were filth, trash, spit upon, and everything else, but yet they turned out to be some of the finest firefighters and the finest policemen all across America. But I say give these people a chance. I sit back and I think, what would Jesus Christ do? He would not turn these people away. He would let them seek asylum, and just like anyone else who's come into this thing. And I know our election day is here, and I just want to get this in because this is something I am poor. I'm from Nashville originally. I don't live in Nashville, but Nashville is my hometown. And I think of all the things that the Democrats have put through for the poor people of our nation, such as Social Security, such as the Veterans Act, the Disability Act, the HUD, Unemployment Act, the HUD, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, FHA, food stamps, welfare, WIC program, free school lunches for the poor children and stuff. And I think about all this, and you sit and you wonder, how can a poor person ever turn their back on the party that has helped them throughout the years? And has made sure, and yes, I sat and find, and I even asked on Facebook, name me programs that the Republicans have put through for the poor. No one can ever answer it for me. And I've asked that question probably 50 times. No one can answer it.
Well, let's see. Can you answer that?
Without trying to be, I think you know, she's right that most of the programs, social welfare programs, have been driven by the Democratic Party. Republicans would make the argument that their effort, that their key element in helping the poor is creating jobs. And they would make the argument from a different point of view that if you don't have economic opportunity, people are going to stay poor. Their case against the Democrats would be that these programs might help the poor, but they keep them poor. Whereas their idea is that if you encourage business and encourage growth and economic development, then you help people escape poverty. So it is that's where the ideological little bit that divides.
I think you're exactly right, and I think the reality is that you have to have a little bit of both. There are always going to be some folks that have hard times that need some help, but hopefully you've got the jobs out there, the folks that need and want to work can find those. And so both of those people, both sides are right. Let's go to Tommy. Hi, Tommy. Hello, Tommy.
Good morning, Nick. How you doing?
Good, Tommy. What's on your mind?
Well, I've been sitting here listening to all this political garbage. It's just about like listening to TV all day, but
thanks, though.
No, let's just go on with it. You know, I sit here and listen to all these political people that's in there, and they're sitting there just lying out their teeth trying to get you to vote for them. And when you get up there, you know, they don't do nothing for you. I mean, I've never seen none of them up there actually do anything for anybody except themselves. And why would a rich man want to get up there and be a politician? He's rich. He don't need nothing. He's got everything in the world.
They all want power. Power, power, power. Power, power.
Well, here's the one thing I got to say, people. And, you know, a lot of people may not like what I have to say. But what would Jesus do in this case, in this country? Do you think he likes this country?
Well, yeah, everyone will have a different answer on that, I suppose. But yeah, it's all about power in a lot of ways. I think a lot of people truly mean well and want to bring public service to it, but I'm inclined to agree on a lot of fronts there. I look at candidates running, and sometimes I wonder, really deep down, what's their motivation aside from wanting to get power and be famous and be in the spotlight? And are they really dedicated to doing anything they truly believe in? It's just feeding their dang ego. And look, I interviewed tons of candidates and politicians, and it's evolved. It's become worse. It's become more that way. Me, 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 me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, that is. I think politics is kind of a sport for narcissists.
Yeah,
in general,
I truly believe you can't be a nice guy and be a successful politician, or a nice woman and be a successful politician. You're like, what do you mean? No, none of these guys. No, you can't. It is such a dang dirty game at the very highest levels. You have to have some kind of thick skin, jaded, and not be afraid to go for the throat. And that's what it is. Nice folks ain't gonna make it in politics. You're gonna get chewed up and spit out, especially if you don't have any money.
Well, that's the other side, is the extreme element of money these days in politics.
Yeah. Of course. How much is going to be spent on the Senate race?
I don't know where
Tennessee?
they are right now. They're thinking it will clearly be the most expensive Senate race ever in Tennessee's history, and I think that's probably likely by the end, by election day.
Okay. Yeah.
I need to look up the figures now, but it is already sort of exceeded in terms of ad buys and everything else from outside sources.
Yeah, a lot of the money, by the way,
outside.
Certainly, you know, the candidates and what they make from donations here, but then they're outside PACs.
Mostly outside money
That are pounding it, and it's because that Senate race is one that's viewed very important to both parties, so they poured into it. That was identified early on as one of what, maybe 5 or 6 key Senate races in the country.
Races, yeah.
Okay,
no,
so
it was clearly a target of opportunity for the Democrats to take the Senate in a year that was going to be very difficult for them. This was a key race, and so they have really poured in money.
Remains so, and as I said, a much more civil race going on with the governors.
Right.
You know, both these men seem to be very decent. They seem to almost like each other to some degree, and not run ugliness. Really,
that's right.
I mean,
it's totally different.
Yeah.
It's an interesting element that the governor's race has been so different in tone than the Senate race.
Yeah, civil, not as many ads, you know, and we'll see how it goes. And again, I think most people felt Lee would be the strong person to win this, but Dean's surprised every step of the way, it seems, and quietly running. Who knows how that's going? I haven't seen any polling on that, but boy, a lot to happen, and who knows what other bombshells will drop between now and November 6th. We shall see. My friend, thank you for coming in, and thank you everyone for calls. So many good ones this morning. Just interesting hearing on both sides wherever you stand. We'll be back with the programming note right after this. Thanks again.